If you spent time in the Star Wars community recently, you've probably heard talk of Darktroopers, but unless you're really into older Star Wars video games, you're probably not too familiar with these foes from Star Wars history or where they came from. Look no further though, as I'm here to give you all the backstory you need on Darktroopers and take you through their appearances in the Star Wars universe. My name is Nathan Emery and I'm a content creator here at Youtini. Oh, and if you haven't watched Chapter 12 of The Mandalorian yet, you should probably do that. This guide will contain some minor spoilers about that episode. And because The Mandalorian is just a fantastic show, of course. With that said, let's jump into this fascinating Imperial project from the Star Wars Expanded Universe. Let's start with the answer to this question. Why are Darktroopers suddenly such a talking point in the Star Wars community? Well, this is where The Mandalorian comes in. In Chapter 12, we caught a glimpse of a secret project being developed by Moff Gideon. Now, the droids were only shown briefly and were shrouded in darkness, but fans nonetheless quickly identified strong similarities with the Darktroopers of the Star Wars Legends universe. When some of us in the Youtini community watched the episode initially, a few of us wondered if they could just be Death Troopers, but quickly realized they were too large and robotic for that. Ultimately, the overwhelming conclusion was that yes, these look just like the Darktroopers of Legends. So is this the canon introduction of Darktroopers? Kind of. In 2014, the now discontinued mobile game Star Wars Commander featured a version of Darktroopers that looked like those in The Mandalorian. Now, 2014 was when the prior expanded universe was denoted as Legends and the new canon universe was established, but as I'm sure you can tell, calling this mobile game a canon introduction of Darktroopers is definitely a stretch. So for general purposes, yes, Chapter 12 of The Mandalorian represents the canon introduction of Darktroopers. Okay, so that's about it for the canon appearances of Darktroopers. This limited background and kind of shady introductions means that we have to look to Legends to understand more about this project and its history and ultimately have a more complete history of Darktroopers. So buckle up and let's take a journey into Legends. Darktroopers were introduced in Star Wars Dark Forces, a first-person shooter game released in 1995 for PC and in 1996 for the original PlayStation. The game is set around the events of A New Hope, and the basic story is that the protagonist Kyle Katarn, who's a mercenary working for the Rebel Alliance, stumbles upon a top-secret Imperial project. This game was generally favorably reviewed by critics and actually was often noted for its use of features first introduced in Doom in 1993 and unique to the first-person shooter genre, such as the ability to jump and the use of multiple levels in the stages. And Doom is a fantastic and innovative game, so this comparison is definitely a compliment. So in Dark Forces, Kyle Katarn begins to hear rumblings of the Darktroopers project as he's investigating weaknesses in the Empire's Death Star. Ultimately, he learns of the project, which is being headed by General Rom Mock, and the player's goal throughout the game is to uncover more about the project and ultimately attempt to take it down. In the game, Darktroopers are basically advanced battle droids. They're really strong battle droids, but their exoskeleton actually resembles Stormtrooper armor. So under the Darktrooper project, there were basically 3 different phases established, although the final phase never reached completion. The initial phase of the project took place many years before the Battle of Yavin and was created by General Mock based on the prior L8, L9, and ZX3 projects. So under this phase of the project, Mock used the technology that was used to transform Anakin Skywalker into Darth Vader to kind of create these cyborg clones that were actually deployed by the Empire shortly after the Battle of Yavin. So these weren't actually full battle droids yet. Again, these were cyborgs based on living clones. Afterward, the initial phase of the Darktrooper project was approved with the goal of creating more powerful Stormtroopers. The Phase 1 Darktrooper project was basically an exoskeleton that was lightsaber resistant and had a vibro sword on its right arm. It had several weak points and served as the basis of the later phases in the project. The troopers that we see in The Mandalorian closely resemble this phase of the project. Phase 2 Darktroopers featured a stronger suit, a jump pack, and several new weapons, including an assault cannon and an arc caster that could shoot bolts of electricity. With these upgrades, the Phase 2 troopers were the most common combat units. Finally, the Phase 3 units were much more powerful in both weaponry and armor. These were ultimately intended for the next generation of Stormtroopers. Proper Darktroopers were first used to fight the rebels at their TAC base after the destruction of the first Death Star, and after a crushing defeat, rebel leader Mon Mothma sought the help of Kyle Katarn to investigate and take down the program. So this is where the video game comes in. In battle, Darktroopers were usually deployed alongside Stormtroopers to add a tactical advantage with their advanced weapons and jetpacks. Their armor was made of the metal frick, which was nearly indestructible. Again, I mentioned that it was lightsaber resistant. So Star Wars Dark Forces is more or less the main source of Darktrooper information in Legends. Nonetheless, Darktroopers did have several other appearances in the universe, mostly in video games. Darktroopers appeared in many of the older Battlefront games, including Battlefront 1, 2, Elite Squadron, Renegade Squadron, as well as games like The Force Unleashed. In these video games, we saw a bit of an expansion of the Dark Trooper program. For example, in Battlefront Renegade Squadron for the PSP, we saw a new version of Dark Troopers with more advanced and bulky armor. Likewise, the Force Unleashed campaign guide, which is a supplement to a Star Wars role-playing game based on the Force Unleashed video game, said that the Dark Troopers of Battlefront 1 and 2 were actually from Phase 0, which, if you remember, is the phase when clones were used to create cyborgs. So as you can see, the history of Dark Troopers outside the lore established by the Dark Forces video game is pretty much bits and pieces. Another tidbit is that the new Essential Guide to Droids established the link between the L8, L9 project and the Dark Trooper project through the intermediary link of the ZX3 droid project. So the guide noted the similarities in appearance between all three droids with Stormtroopers and therefore with each other. Dark Troopers also got some love over on the merchandise side of Star Wars. Under the Power of the Force's expanded universe line, Kenner released a Dark Trooper figure. The figure definitely resembles Phase 3 Dark Troopers with its bulky armor and advanced weapons. All three phases of Dark Troopers also appeared in the Star Wars Miniatures line, which ran from 2004 to 2010 and was part of a collectible miniatures tabletop game. The Dark Troopers were released under the Force Unleashed line, and I gotta say, after doing this deep dive into Dark Troopers, I'm definitely planning to pick these figures up. And if you're as addicted to collecting Star Wars stuff as I am, you might be too. Whew. So now you've got more information on Dark Troopers than you could ever possibly need, and I hope you enjoyed every bit of it as much as I did. I hope this guide has helped illuminate the history of this fascinating Imperial project from Star Wars Legends, and as the project moves forward in future episodes of The Mandalorian, hopefully you're able to better appreciate its history and significance. So what did you think of Dark Troopers? Was their mysterious past a surprise to you, or did you grow up playing the video games? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video and are looking for similar deep dives along with reviews, news, podcasts, and so much more, be sure to like this video and subscribe to the Youtini YouTube channel. And if you love the Star Wars Expanded Universe and can talk about it all day like I can, be sure to head on over to our vibrant and positive Discord community over at youtini.com/discord, where we discuss all the latest shows, news, and books from the galaxy far, far away. And as always, friends, may the Force be with you.